Hey everybody, what's going on? This is bigz here. I'm alone in the studio all by myself. Uh, I'm currently waiting on my co-host and guest. They should be arriving shortly. But yeah, welcome to Player Profiler News Primetime Friday, right here on Player Profiler Plus. We are brought to you by, of course, Fast Draft. If you like drafting and you want to draft faster with Fast Draft. Go to fastdraft.app, use code BOOTH, and you get a $50 deposit match. You put in 50, and Fast Draft will float you 50. Right now, we're closing out the Origins Chaos game, which came out right after the draft. And then once that's closed, we'll have a new game that'll be launching, and that'll be another Origins. The Flex 4 is still open, and the D up. Last night over on our other show that we do with a couple other player profiler people, me and Justin Curry, aka Chev. What's up, Chev? We had Matt Kelly, the Podfather guest, on our show, and I know that while we were talking fast draft through that whole episode, some of us were drafting in fast draft.
Yeah, we ended up in the same draft. So
yeah, that is that the one that I took Shedeur Sanders with the first pick in the second round?
No, there's no way I did that for real.
I absolutely did. So what I didn't know about fast draft until last night was that there are buttons across the top that show that the player listing as you rank them, and if you hit each position, it'll show you all of that position. If you hit two positions, it'll show. So, for example, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. If you hit the RB and that's highlighted, it'll completely fill everything up. But if you make your pick, it defaults back to the all. So I had my eye on a running back, and I knew that I was going to be able to double tap, and I hit the button. And as soon as I drafted, it went back to all, which I didn't know. So then when it came time to pick, it wasn't my cue. Shedeur Sanders was the next up in the ADP rankings.
Oh, no.
And I went, boop, Shedeur. And I noticed when he filled, that wasn't the color I was looking for. And then I was just like, nope, and got out of that draft. Let it just take the rest of my picks anyway. It was because it was a done deal after that. Speaking of Shedeur Sanders, and we should get into this. I have a hard out today at 45 minutes.
Okay.
I have my boss is going out of town. He needs to leave expediently. Let's talk about this draft real quick, because you and I went back and forth quite a bit over the pre-draft process. So I just wanted to kind of get a feeling of where we're at now. I was I tried to flag plant Shedeur Sanders not being good or ready, and I don't want to take a victory lap because I feel like the drop to the fifth round is not anything like I still, among my lack of intent to own him in any fantasy, I still was scared on draft day that he was going to go, or scared. I was still anticipating the possibility he could go with the second or third pick in the entire draft.
Right.
And I knew that could be a possibility. What happened?
I mean, I don't know how closely you were at the draft, so you might not have gotten the reports that started to come out about some of his interviews in the interview process.
I've seen some things.
Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, a lot of teams didn't really have the grade on him. I mean, you and I have discussed through working through another draft guide that we're putting together, kind of what I saw on film. And so, I mean, if I saw it, then 32 other teams saw it. And so, you've got a prospect that's closer to the Brock Purdy's of the world, as opposed to And Brock Purdy as a prospect, not Brock Purdy as the
Sure,
NFL
Brock Purdy
quarterback he is right now.
as Mr. Irrelevant.
Correct. Like he's closer from a skill set standpoint to that than he is, a top 10 pick. And that's not to say that he should have been a 7th round pick. He should have been a 5th round pick. I mean, you saw him it's worth something that he was able to stand and deliver and get the crap beat out of him. But also you saw the red flags and the things that you knew he was going to have to clean up. And so with that being the case, for me, it just seemed like the perfect storm. I mean, he was to use your word, portending to be a prospect that's the caliber of his father. And he was, more along the lines of a prospect that's, Will Howard, Kyle McCord, like similar tool sets, just a lot more fanfare. And so
even the two that you brought up, McCord led the NCAA in passing last year, and Howard won a national championship.
Right. But I mean, you see that they go in the 6th round one went to the Steelers, one went to the Eagles.
Yeah. And
so
both of them have a better chance to play this year than Shedeur does.
Yeah. I mean, it just, like I said, he just, from what I understand, without any boots on the ground anywhere inside of any building, I think that he turned a lot of people off with his interview process. And that's the part to me that I can deal with. There's some underlying things there that could be present, but where I drew the line at is when I started hearing that he was unprepared for like installs.
Right.
So like they give you a package of plays to install, and they put mistakes in for you to catch, and then his response may not have been appropriate when called out on that. So all the way around, well, I'm looking at this comment now. bigz.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, bro, we're gonna get there. He asked me a question, and since we're on the show, we're gonna talk about that question first, and then we'll go to this. I promise, Vic. I promise. I don't want to talk about this, but it needs to be done. Like this is me capitulating and eating a lot of crow on a guy who I'm named after on Twitter. All right. So let's just let me cook here, okay?
Yeah, we'll get there.
But yeah, and long story short, to close it out for brevity's sake, I think that he didn't do himself a lot of favors in the interview process and in ingratiating himself with with a lot of NFL GMs who had preconceived notions. My thing is you always want to no matter what the notion is, you want to make that interaction a positive interaction. And that I don't think that they value that. I think that maybe their camp overplayed their hand a little bit, and that's how how it bared itself out in the draft process.
And so I have a theory, and this plays into I want to avoid all of the personality issues, because there are guys who get drafted in the first round that have personality issues. There are guys that get drafted in the first round that have legal problems. There are guys that get drafted in the first round that are that come off as narcissistic and very self-involved and everything. So I don't think.
To be fair, bigz, you with a psychology background, that most of these guys are wired up that way in some way or another.
Absolutely. So I want to. I've tried to avoid making it most of that and trying to address it as it's a talent issue. And here there are two things that are behind that. Number one is the fact that the New York Giants drafted Jackson Dart in the first round, and they traded up to do it. And they did have opportunities to draft Shedeur Sanders, but it came out that he got into the New York Giants interview process and he was not ready with the install. Jackson Dart was. So that's one big red flag. The other thing, and this I think is the most important part of it, is that his offensive coordinator at Colorado was Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur is a former offensive coordinator in the NFL and a former head coach. You have to know that he is locked in with a lot of the scouting departments, a lot of the GMs, a lot of the head coaches, and they are going to him with, hey, Pat, what is your take on your quarterback that you designed this offense around? And we saw from what the offense was that it was not an NFL offense. It was not very complicated. It asked Shedeur to do very few things, and it was designed around some of his strengths. He's a very accurate passer. Doesn't have a huge arm, but he is very accurate. So there were a lot of plays that were like that. He holds on to the ball for a while. That's, whether you want to say too long or whatever, he does have some playmaking ability as far as like being able to read what's going on in front of him when he escapes the pocket. There was some of that in the Colorado offense, but I'm pretty sure that as many teams that had interest in Sanders that there were reached out to Shurmur and were like, is he ready? And I think he told the truth. Something which nobody did to Shedeur and nobody did to Dion, and it was an absolute disservice. It was absolutely unfair to the kid. The prank call was like made it even worse. I know there were prank calls all over the place, but
Right.
to do that to that kid is absolutely ridiculous. And I was pretty impressed with how poised he was on the back end of that, having to deal with all that and still kind of, keep holding his chest up. He dealt with it like a man, and that was pretty impressive, but nothing less than what I would expect from Dion's son. All right, we got a special guest today, and I want to give him the proper due, and you will find him on the internet. He will tell you all about that, but let's just suffice to say that he is the nicest man in fantasy football, and I'm talking about COOP, the COOP, Cooper Compliments. COOP, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, good to be here.
How are you today?
Coming on, man.
Great. I forgot my hat apparently.
Yeah.
Hey, we're bald, and so or I'm balding. Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah. We got three.
I'm on the way. I'm on the way there. I'm fighting the good fight.
Yeah. So let everybody know where they can find you, talk to you, interact with you, because I've had some really good. You came on my other show. We've had really good interactions. You like to do this little thing where you take your dynasty teams and you make little jersey diagrams for them, and you made me one, and I was for Scott Fishbowl, I think, and I was really appreciative of it. So where can people reach out to you?
You can find me at _COOP, COOP. That's pretty much it. On if you end up finding me in one of my million leagues on Sleeper, I'm at Disposable Coop. So if you see me on there, if you see that on there, then that's me.
Scott Fishbowl, are you live this year?
Not yet, man. Still waiting on the invite. So
Same.
Are you intending to be live?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
No, not live. No.
Not live. Okay.
No.
I did see your race this morning.
Oh, I missed it. I put in for it, but
yeah.
I guess I didn't win, or else I would have heard something, right?
I was like, that's interesting. He's coming on the show today. All right. Vince Mapstone says, good day, legions.
Vince.
Good day, Mike.
Coop. What's happening, champion? You'll get in Coop, otherwise there will be a riot. That is
right. Yeah.
Nar. Yes, that is true.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I'm not too worried about it.
It is. We got a couple of fantasy questions. The first one came from Legend of Krakatoa, which is a pretty cool story. Krakatoa just absolutely blew apart. Would you trade Pittman and 2/3 for the 201? If you're getting the 201, I would do that. I've been trying to get the 201 to get Dart in one of my leagues, and if I had Pittman to give away, I would do that in a heartbeat.
It is tough sledding. I pulled it off. I'll tell you about it. I'll text you about it. It's
all right.
It's a pretty. I want to get your opinion on it. So,
and then it's wild how Sanders, a 5th round pick, is still the talk of the shows. Can we chat about Harvey versus Henderson and Judkins, Golden versus Burden, Ibuka, please? Yes. So let's go ahead and address each of these things, Vic Z. Hopefully you're still watching. I will lead off and say, first of all, that the reason that Sanders is still the talk of the shows is because everybody is trying to parse what happened because it was unprecedented. We haven't seen anybody who was talked about in the top 5 of the entire draft sliding 5 rounds and over the course of 2.5 days. We've never seen anything like it. On top of that, you have the fact that his dad is one of the icons in the history of football in Deion Sanders. There are a lot of us who grew up and Primetime was the dude. He absolutely established what is identity in athletics now. Every time you see somebody in a colorful suit, that's because of Deion Sanders. Every time you see a guy with a big pendant that's all sparkly with his nickname on it, that's because of Primetime. He did that. That had not ever happened before. So this is a very important cultural touchstone moment, and it has to do with the NFL draft. On top of the fact that the NFL draft was the second most watched draft this year, like it's important. That's why we talked about it. As far as Harvey versus Henderson and Judkins, I'm ranking them just like that. Well, actually, no, I'm ranking them Harvey, Judkins, then Henderson. Golden and Burden. I like what Golden brings to Green Bay, but there's a lot of Jordan Love there, or there's a lot of Jaden Reed there. But Jaden Reed's usage rate last year kind of puts me off, and it makes me think that the Packers don't think that they have any guy who is the lead dog in that wide receiver room. So that makes me back off of Packers wide receivers in the first place. Then you have Burden, who lands in a terrible spot in Chicago. Yes, it's going to be a good offense, but there's going to be so many mouths to feed, especially as a rookie. And then Ibuka, another terrible spot because of all the mouths to feed. So I'm really hesitant on pulling the trigger on those 3 wide receivers, but I love the spots for those running backs. How do you guys feel?
Go ahead, Coop.
I think I'm with you on the receivers. I think in Tampa, it's more of a maybe a long-term, kind of a short-term to take care of the injury with Godwin. But then also you never know when Big Mike's going to retire and, head on to Canton. So just kind of slide him in and maybe move McMillan to the outside and kind of go from there. I actually like the pick of Burden to Chicago, and it's because of the coach. And he came in and basically handpicked him. And so, I mean, I know he's got guys there already. He's got Moore there already, and he's got what's his name from Washington there already. What's his name?
Odunze. McMillan.
Odunze. Right.
Romo.
Sorry,
Romo. Doomsday.
But they were already there. So, I mean, he's already said, I'm going to let Keenan walk, and I'm going to bring in a smaller Debo. I don't know what you consider him. I was trying to figure out who to compare these guys to players who had played for the team already. But I was having a hard time with that one because, like Ted McMillan, I was thinking maybe Masim Muhammad,
Yeah.
So I was trying to kind of for the people that have been watching for a while. But I think, I don't know. I like Henderson's spot. He is in kind of a weird split. And I also feel like May maybe is going to take a little bit away from the running game, and they're going to really focus more on passing. And he might be able to, Josh Allen style, steal some of the premium carries towards the goal line. So I don't love that spot. I do love that Judkins went to the Browns because it seems like they've worked with Chubb for so long, and I think he can kind of fill right in. Not too much of a problem. I don't think there's really anybody there that's going to try to take too many carries away. I love Harvey's spot. I mean, everybody does. It seems like now it's either you love him or you hate him. You almost have to pick a side now. You don't see, you know what I mean? Before it was like, oh, he would have been great if he would have slipped, and then somebody would have get a great value. But the fact that they kind of took him so high, I think it makes people feel like they have to pick a side and just be like, he's either going to be the greatest thing. He's either going to be, Terrell Davis, or he's going to be, I can't think of any,
I mean, Chris Johnson. You got a lot of names that you could choose
Philip
from.
Lindsay, I was thinking of, like a one-shot deal and then he's gone. You know what I mean? But since he was drafted so high, you kind of have to pick a side, I guess. I don't know. I like
Mark
the spot.
Ingram.
Yeah, exactly. I like the spot. I like the offense. I think they were excited to get him since they traded down instead of taking one of those other guys that were still there. So, but yeah, I mean, I could see it going a million ways with these guys, especially the running backs. I could literally see them in any order. It's kind of hard to see right now.
the thing that makes me back off of Burden is the fact that he lands in Chicago, where DJ Moore is already established, and they do a lot of the same things. I wanted Burden to go to a spot where somebody was going to kind of open up his. There was a lot of talk about his route tree at Missouri and how hampered he was by being at Missouri, and he's not going to be able to do that in Chicago. He's going to all the things that make him good in that made him good at Missouri are going to be good in Chicago, and there's not going to be much more opportunity for him. And then you look at the fact that Moore has 2 years left on his contract. This year he has a $70 million cap hit if they cut him, or dead cap if they cut him, which means he's not going anywhere. And then you have Odunze, and then they brought in Loveland, and they already have Komet, who's probably going to wind up being 1 year and done. So there's in the future, in 2 or 3 years, maybe he has a huge third-year breakout. So when you're drafting in your rookie drafts, if you are looking to add to a team for the future, I think Burden, Ibuka, and Golden are good picks. If you are looking to add to your roster to like score some points this year, I don't think they're gonna hit very hard.
Agreed.
How about you, Chev?
A few wide receivers too. You know, it's tough. There's always 1 or 2 guys that kind of break out.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not counting on those guys to be anything more than maybe a wide receiver 4 a lot of times, even if they're like second round picks. You know what I mean? Just
right.
Sometimes it works out. Like Brian Thomas last year slipped a little bit. He shouldn't have, but he did. You know, so he was a second round pick, but he, of course, I don't know. I guess he got overshadowed in college by Neighbors, and people just were like, "Oh, he's just the other guy."
Yeah, not only Neighbors, but
the other side. Then maybe he's not going to be. You know what I mean? He's got to be a number 2 or something, but that's obviously not true. We'll see what happens with Travis Hunter there. I think it's going to be a similar situation where it will help him having Thomas on the other side. He'll be able to do a lot of fun things there, I think.
Go ahead, Chev. I think so. All right, starting at the top, running backs. Quinshon Judkins was my RB3 throughout this whole deal. I'm really, really excited about that. But I was also, I was texting you about RJ Harvey going into the Senior Bowl, and then we had the infamous moment on Twitter that I will never let you forget. And
forget it anyway.
And he gets phenomenal draft capital. I mean, we're talking about an A+ landing spot with no meaningful competition for touches if he is any sort of competent. So I know that we draft talent, not landing spot, but this is one of the ones where I really was enamored by the talent. I just liked a couple guys a little bit more, and now the landing spot is so chef's kiss to me. Like RJ Harvey, if I'm at the 1.6, I'm trying to trade back to like that 1.8, 1.9 and pick up a second. Or I just pulled off one where I had the 1.9 and I traded that for the 1.10 and a 26 second just so I could, bat, like the guy really wanted RJ Harvey. So but yeah, I would probably rank them for this year. I'd probably go in that order, even though Judkins has a clear path. Like they're going to struggle to throw forward passes this year.
Yeah.
They're going to struggle to throw forward passes this year. I mean, I know people want to believe in 40-year-old Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's the same age as I am. Okay. It's not going to go great. Okay. I'm doing a podcast and he's thinking about playing American tackle football. Okay. Good luck to everyone. And then moving on to the receivers. I think that, the Ibuka landing spot surprises you until you realize Mike Evans only has a void year left on his contract after this year.
Yeah.
Chris Godwin's the heir apparent long-term to Mike Evans if he returns to form with the 3-year, $66 million deal. But all that says to me is that Ibuka's probably going to play some this year and have some meaningful games. We might have to go on to the more of the Devontae Adams, and then to borrow more recent examples, JSN and Rome Odunze, hopefully, model where it doesn't hit in year 1, but we see like we're gonna have an opportunity to buy after year 1.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing with Luther Burden. bigz already hit it on the head. Hey, man, DJ Moore's not going anywhere until at least 2026. If I'm not mistaken, it's like a $38 million cap. It's $70 million in like guaranteed money over the next 2 years, this year and next year. So he ain't going nowhere unless somebody's going to eat that capital. Now, the Dallas Cowboys could come in and be your saving grace, but I highly doubt that. They would have already done that already. And so they're probably asking for like a, second or third round pick and to eat the salary. So that's probably not going to happen. And then, I mean, Luther Burden, it's just my question to you guys is Matthew Golden, great landing spot, whatever. But we have questions about whether or not he, it's the 4.29 that earned him that or his body of work. I like Matthew Golden. Again, this is a question about what it translates to and the way that Green Bay's played offense with Jordan Love at the helm. So the last thing is Luther Burden. To me, they don't have a Jahmyr Gibbs in this offense. Luther Burden could be their approximation of Jahmyr Gibbs and manufacturing him touches. Now, you're not going to hand it off to him every time, but Coop, you made a great point. Like, what if he's like Debo?
Yeah.
What if
I
they
hope he's not Rondale Moore? I just hope he's not Rondale Moore. I was big on Rondale Moore, and then just.
I mean, listen, we all fell victim to the Rondale Moore squatting 600 pounds and running 4.29 and being awesome, just single-handedly beating Ohio State. That's why he got drafted in the second round. We watched him as an 18, 19-year-old freshman beat Ohio State by himself, and we all said, can't wait till that guy's in the league. And I don't think he got a lick better from that game to the day he was drafted or as a professional. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I think that the opportunity with Luther Burden is so tremendous because of the fact that Ben Johnson, like you said, handpicked him. And not only did he handpick him, they're looking for an explosive, like a guy who can create explosive plays. Luther Burden, 6 foot, 206, forced the most missed tackles in the NCAA amongst receivers last year with 30. And they don't have a guy that's dynamic in space or as dynamic as Luther Burden represents himself to be when you watch him on tape. So I think that there's an opportunity here. I would be a little worried about him and DJ Moore cannibalizing each other. I think Roma Dunze is going to be kind of the big outside guy that's going to get some contested catch targets, back shoulders and all that. And he'll be fine, but this is going to weigh everyone down just a touch, especially trying to figure out what we're going to do with Colston Loveland. But this should be one of the best offenses in the NFL, full stop.
Well, if Caleb Williams progresses like he should from rookie year to second year, full stop.
Right.
All right, we got Dollar Bill in regards to the my talking about primetime. Tyrone from Broward County was the first with flashy clothes. I don't remember Tyrone from Broward County being in the NFL. And then Vince is absolutely lighting up the chat. Love the Loveland, not the ideal landing spot, but they will employ 12 personnel, and he will be Caleb's best friend in 2 to 3 years. Yes. Worried about Rome? Possibly. The Harvmeister. Yeah, I guess that's the nickname we're going with. Buka is one of those cats where the landing spot means nothing to me. I've snagged him early second in a couple of drafts and smashed that pick in. Yeah, especially if he's available in the second, because he is, according to some, the best wide receiver in the class. Ben Johnson hates Swift too. Burden's gadgets will be great for coach. Yes. And in regards to what Chev was talking about with the RJ Harvey, I don't know if I can make this. Oh, there it is. So we were having a discussion when I was at the Senior Bowl, and the Senior Bowl measurements were starting to come out. And I was psyched because Ollie Gordon came in at over 225. And I said, I told you. And then I said, also live look in at RJ Harvey. And
can you go to the likes on that?
And then it was liked by RJ Harvey.
Oh,
so after the first practice session day, media has access to the players down on the field, and I went down there and I searched him out and found him, and I dapped him up, and I was like, "Thank you for liking that tweet."
Well done.
I meant no ill will, and he was like, "No, I got you, dog," and it was a good moment. All right, we got a question. Whoop. Yeah, it was fun. Where will Chubb end up signing? Chicago, Denver, or maybe another team? Well, whenever you look at a situation like this and you start playing odds, I'm going to go with the field. Maybe another team. I don't see why either of them would sign him. At this point, I don't know if there's anybody who is like really chomping at the bit to grab an older guy coming off of a couple of like catastrophic injuries when we have this huge draft class that just came in with Raheem Sanders going undrafted.
But Brendan, listen, you saw him jump over those hurdles. By God, he's healthy again.
By God, I know. I also watched Raheem Sanders play college football, and he didn't get drafted by anybody.
That one stung. I'm not gonna lie to you, brother. That one hurt. That one hurt.
One thing when you brought up how much somebody was squatting or whatever, it made me think of that was a good freeze. It made me think of this UDFA in Miami, right? His name is Monterey Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people know who he is. He played at Baylor. He has the body of Tyreek and the strength of a gorilla, and he's fast. If somehow via UDFA, Monterey Baldwin is able to kind of slide into the Tyreek role in that Mike McDaniel offense, like watch out for this kid. He didn't have a lot of production at Baylor, but then again, Tyreek Hill didn't have a lot of production in college either, and he wasn't even like he went the JUCO route. Poor Nicholas is close to being done. Best situation for him if an unfortunate injury happens to a starting running back during the season and he gets a look as a dipped piece on a contender. Sorry, that was way more New Zealand than Australia.
That was full Kiwi right there. You sound like Taika Waititi.
I've watched too much Flight of the Conchords and and not enough Kath and Kim. There's a point where you enter the hallowed halls of the Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt space where it's over, buddy, and that's I think where Chev is. He's sipping cocktails with Dalvin.
He was cut down in his prime though, for sure.
Yeah, and if you remember the first time he got hurt, it was him and Barkley. It was either a week apart or on the same day, and they were my two running backs in my dynasty league. And it was like within 2 weeks, my season was just over.
Well, I hope you kept Barkley.
No,
hope you didn't sell low.
No. Of course I didn't. And also to kind of reference something else that you were saying, Chev, you said something about running backs, Coop said it about Drake May taking carries away from Henderson. Well, it didn't really hurt Barkley or Henry to have a running quarterback last year.
It helps.
Right.
Now, with Josh Allen, it's different because Josh Allen is a goal line back and not an actual in the middle of the field designed running back outside of their short yardage work. So I think having a Lamar, having a Jalen Hurts definitely helps. It doesn't hurt. Obviously, having Lamar is the cheat code to the cheat code to the cheat code in the run game. But I think Drake May actually would help him because there's a backside defensive end that's going to have a responsibility to either play the quarterback or like crash down the line of scrimmage and try to tackle Travion Henderson, which he will have a 2-yard. He will be giving him a 2 to 3 yard head start, and I don't think that's going to work out for very many defensive ends not named, I don't know, like Myles Garrett. Like you give him that type of runway, and it's gonna get ugly. Especially, here's the thing. I ranked him this way, and it doesn't follow my initial, like my pre-draft rankings, but I think Travion's gonna win that job as soon as both of the guys, the vets there, have the fumble rooskies. We know this. We accept this. Antonio Gibson's a Memphis guy. It doesn't give me any sort of pleasure whatsoever to talk about this in this manner. But yeah, I think he's a loaded stick of dynamite, and he fits the the Josh McDaniels. We know Josh McDaniels is going to play offense one way, and he has a guy that does all the dirty work. Low red zone, short yardage carries, and he's got a guy that catches passes. And like, is there anybody in his realm as a pass catcher on the team? Like, they're both really good, but do we see either of them lining up on corners and running double moves, and winning? Because that's what Travion can do.
Right. Yeah, I love the situation for him. One of the things going into last year was I was looking for there's a metric in fantasy where when you have a career efficiency rating and then you have a slide, typically there's a positive regression back to that rating. And I was expecting that from Ramondre last year, and that did not happen. Ramondre is slowly but surely sliding off the cliff, and it's happening a little bit earlier than we anticipated, but his efficiency metrics last year were not good. And we've seen that over and over again. When that starts to happen, you watch an Alexander Madison who's not efficient, and then suddenly they lose their job. Ramondre is going to go through the same thing. I think the only time that somebody has been so damn hard-headed that they didn't replace their lack of efficiency running back with somebody who was way more efficient is Pittsburgh with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. They were just stubborn and said, nope, we're going to play it this way. We don't care if Warren has, this higher yards per carry or whatever. We're just going to keep smashing the line with Najee. And they're a 500 team that makes the playoffs every year. And so Henderson is gonna take over at some point, and it's going to be a lot sooner than most Ramondre holders are hoping.
Yeah, it's gross. I don't love it.
So real quickly, as we finish up, let's just do kind of like a little lightning round thing. Let me hear what your favorite landing spot was for any player, and we'll start with Coop.
Put me on the spot, huh?
Yeah.
Favorite landing spot.
Lightning means.
Man, I'm pretty slow. This is not really lightning. Favorite landing spot. We're talking this year, right?
Yeah.
Let me stall a little bit. I really like Luther Burden to Chicago. I know you kind of panned it a little bit, but I think when a new coach comes in, I like Loveland too. I mean, I was a Warren guy over Loveland, but I like that he's picking his guys that he's trying to set up his offense. Maybe it's not going to be the best this year, but I feel like if you get a wide receiver and you hope that he's going to last 10 years, then if it takes a couple years, that's fine. I mean, Caleb's going to be kind of easing into this new system as well. So maybe they all grow together. They learn together at the same spot. I really liked him. I think it was kind of cheesy how when he didn't get drafted in the first round, he posted that pic of him like, hey, I'm working out at midnight, check me out. And it's just like, are you really? I mean, I like that kind of thing, but like Jerry Rice, I mean, I know it was before social media, but he wouldn't be out there posting. He would just be out there doing it. He'd be running up the hill at midnight with his bricks in his hands.
Yeah, and that's what made him Jerry. Let's
so
just
it's a little bit cheesy, but whatever. I'm okay with that.
Let's kick my take down to August and make it for redraft, not necessarily dynasty, because obviously in dynasty we can see what I meant was production for this year.
Okay. My brain's still. I'm sorry. I got like multiple dynasty leagues going on. So
me too. We're currently drafting, and
we're all same brain, same thing. All the same stuff's happening to us all right now.
Chef TB, sup, all you amazing and beautiful people. Hey, Chef, you're amazing and beautiful too. Favorite landing spot for you, Chev?
Yeah, I would have to go with Rondé Gadsden the second to the Chargers.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's nice. My least. We'll get to least. My favorite landing spot, obviously.
Genty.
Ashton Genty to the Raiders.
Homer.
We know.
I love it too, man. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's the worst place." I'm like, no.
not for
No.
the Raiders.
From the top
For
down.
the fantasy implications
Well,
is what I'm
same.
talking about. Obviously,
Same.
like I'm happy
It's
about
gonna
it
work
for my
both ways.
team,
Oh, it's going to work both ways.
but the
100%.
dude's going to get 300 touches. He's going to be the main focus in a Pete Carroll offense. He has absolute dogs blocking ahead of him in Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Jack Besh. They're adding to the offensive line with a couple of their offensive line picks this year. They played on special teams, making open field tackles. They were given goal line carries. One of them played wildcat at quarterback. There's athleticism all over the place, and it's just going to add to the yards before contact. And so I think Genty is to the moon this year.
I agree.
How high do you draft him? Do you draft him top 5?
I'm taking him 101, except
Yeah?
in my home league, which is IDP, where I'm grabbing Hunter.
Nice.
But I'm trying to trade into
101 in the overall draft.
I was thinking redraft.
Oh,
Rookie, of course.
Yeah,
101.
redraft top 7.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, top
Absolutely.
7,
Yeah.
8.
Vince. Jetty will have to wait a few seasons until future Hall of Famer Sincere McCormick slows down.
Hey,
This
shout
is true.
out to UTSA legend, associate head coach Joe Price at UTSA.
Yeah. He got one of my customers' kids recruited him, got him over there. UTSA is a very underrated program. All right, least favorite landing spot. We'll start this time with Chev.
Oh, that's pretty easy. It's Jalen Noel to the Houston Texans.
Damn it, you took mine.
So it can work. We do get like full adult size Tank Dell. We get him in Houston, but also we get him at probably a tertiary option in the passing game at best. Excuse me. So we're talking about a guy who's dynamic. I mean, shout out to Alex DFK. His Phenom Finder had Jalen Noel as the top prospect in his model. So, but I really wanted to see him land somewhere where he would have more of a carved out immediate role. I mean, we could get CJ Stroud as a post-hype sleeper, but I mean, we've seen that they just don't want to open that offense up and let him throw it that much. So I think with him going there, being a top 80 pick, we're like, I love the talent. And again, always draft talent over situation, but it's just there's not a crystallized path to me to see him, returning value immediately like I would like to see.
Okay. How about you, Coop? Your least favorite landing spot?
I don't like to be negative. Plus, then what if I say someone who ends up being, the next whatever,
So I mean, we don't keep receipts. All you have to do is just say same Chev, same.
Same, yeah. I agree with everything you said, 100%.
Sweet.
And mine is
only I could get my wife to do this. That would be fantastic.
Your mouth
mine is Trey Harris of the San Diego Chargers.
What?
Yeah. I don't.
Oh yeah, because you're so in love with my little laddie.
No.
Yes, it is.
I am, and he is my little laddie, but that's not why.
Tell the truth, Brendan.
No, it's more because I want Trey Harris to be the focus, and he's going to be a decoy. We're going to have him running all the nines. We're going to have Quentin Johnston running the crossers. We're going to have Ladd McConkey working underneath. And I wanted Trey Harris to be the guy because I thought that he had the talent level to be the wide receiver one of this class. And he's another one that just went to a very, very crowded room. And the possibility of him being a top 12 wide receiver in this year's fantasy season is now dead to me. And so that was my least favorite.
Plus they want to run 600 times. So
sure. And I made the
3 to be exact.
I made the case last year that Ladd was one of my favorite receivers in the draft, and going to the Chargers, and everybody had a problem with the fact that he was going to a Greg Roman offense. And I tried to point out to everybody that a Greg Roman offense has handled a high target volume for a receiver before. We had Hollywood Brown have 140 targets a few years ago in a Greg Roman offense, and that's absolutely possible for Ladd, but only Ladd. It's only ever been one guy that has gotten a lot of that.
True. That's absolutely true too.
And to finish it off, last year, Ladd really stood out in the latter part of the season after Dobbins got injured, which opened up the passing game for him since there was no competition for targets. Yes. But I think they're still going to throw him the ball 120 times this year. I think that's going to be the standard for Ladd. All right. I got to get to work. Thank you, Coop, for hopping on here. And we appreciate you. #Coopliments. And Chev, we'll talk again. We'll see you all who are watching. We'll see you again next week. And you guys have a great week.
Thanks. You too.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Out of here. What's your